and the sun come out, and you can see on these beans we had a few drops of rain, and these beans, half runner beans, and they're half running up the fence. The top pretty soon, and it looks like I got bean picking tomorrow. Bean picking tomorrow if it's not raining. So maybe even later today. I might pick them later today, but they need picking. And here is some squash and pumpkins mixed that I moved over from where I planted corn, and they're looking good. Some of these in the middle were kind of sick for days. The sun would barely come out, and they'll be wilted. And I kept watering them, and they've come out of it, and they're looking good. There's a lot of plants there, and some of them will get crowded out and not do anything. But there's going to be they'll come crawling out, and they'll just overspread this whole area and see what we get. And here is a one right by this fence post is a little volunteer pumpkin that I just let go, and it's going to have to fight the beans and these other pumpkins for light. And here is some more transplanted pumpkins, but there's pumpkins started. I need to get a board under it soon. Hey, there's a little block there that I can use. It's right next to it that I can place under it and keep it from rotting. Especially this year, it's been really rainy. Here, let's look at this. I mulched my asparagus. I'm trying to kill some of this grass and weeds, and I'll leave it there for a week or so and smother the weeds, and then kind of pull it back to make sure that new asparagus can emerge easily. And here are some baby asparagus. There's 3 of them here. I planted a row along this shed, and 2 came up like a month or so ago, and now there's 5. And there's one there and one there. And I just put rocks around them to see where they're at, because they're very hard to see. So I put rocks for protection, and just to make sure I don't hoe them out or step on them or something. And that's it for the asparagus. Another pumpkin plant. I moved that. It was a volunteer. I just took a shovel and just took the whole pile of pumpkins and just put them over here. And where the mulch used to be, I just got done mulching the corn and other stuff, and so the leaf mulch from last fall is all gone. It's all been used up, so that's good. And here's got 4 tomato volunteer. Now I got 10 viewers real quick. I don't know. And this one here's got a tomato on it. Actually 2. And I'm gonna take some steel posts and place them around it, 3 steel posts, and then use like old iPhone chargers cords, and just wrap around and keep them inside, keep them off the ground. This one really needs it bad to be corralled. And this is a real big plant. I don't know if it's even have tomatoes on it. Yeah. No tomatoes yet on it. but this little one here does. Where are they? There's 3 on there, and these are volunteer tomatoes. They're nothing special. They come up in the garden. I feel sorry for them, so I just put them elsewhere to grow. And most of the time, their tomatoes are pretty small, and well, and I just use them in chili and stuff. And here is my what is there? I think there's five groups of tomatoes and different things. This one's in a bucket. No tomatoes yet. And this one here is in a toilet that quit working. And there's tomatoes growing there. And this may eventually break, and I won't have a toilet planter anymore because it's cracked from when it freezes. This one doesn't have any, and it's just we had a flower. We bought a bunch of flowers. I think it was 2023, I think. Some of them didn't make it. I'm using the planter pot to put one in. And here is, this one's got the largest tomatoes I got. And it's in a planter that was over at the neighbors after they moved. And they left a bunch of junk and everything. And I keep finding stuff over there. I found a knife, a paring knife that was real dirty, and cleaned it up, and it actually cuts really good. So you find stuff in a weird situation. Okay, well, this one's in the toilet tank. There's a couple plants here. This one here's got tomatoes on it, and they may get fairly good sized. I need to put a pole in all these. I got some materials. I got stakes, and I'm even going to use an old fish pole that I found, and I'll just stick in these pots and then tie them to that. And here's my pineapple. It's actually got a pineapple on it, and it's a pineapple top that I grew one. I grew a pineapple in this pot, and it made a pineapple. It was kind of like a, I don't know, grapefruit size. It tasted pretty good. And this one is like the father plant, and this is the top from that, on top of the pineapple. Once this gets ripe, I'll take that top and I'll put it in soil in a pot, and it may grow again, and I'll have another pineapple. So this one here this plant is actually probably like 5 years old, and it's already, it has 2 descendant pineapple fruits to its name. So, and that one may eventually put a pineapple on probably next year, but we'll see. And Mexican petunia, and these are just plants that are still alive that I think they're from 2020, and that's it for those. Okay. Got a thumbs up. I got some chats. Hi from Jose Ibarra, and Ann from Mother Drone says, yo, yes, come and look at my garden before it rains later. And this says, and from Murder Drone said, it looks like gamers are watching my stuff. It's probably really boring for a gamer. So I've got a couple shout outs, and okay, next. Here's another gobba squash, pumpkins. There's a lot of them there, a lot of plants, and they'll just fight it out. And there's a tomato that's in here. Now with the tomato, I would try to keep this in the light if I wanted to make tomatoes, and try to get a pole to hold it up, because that's in here. This one's got a nice, that looks like a regular old full-blooded pumpkin. It's a nice little, it might be a miniature, but I need to get a board under it before long. And here's what's left to my cabbage, my overwinter cabbage. That was a pretty good success, and I'm letting it go to seed again. I don't know why. I got more seed than I need. And this one I'll clip off here pretty soon. Look, I might clip it off this week. I see down there it's ripening on the ground, or it got stepped on. I probably stepped on it several times, and it'll need to be cut out of there pretty soon. It's got full seed in it, and take it in the house to dry, and I'll start planting. I'll plant them in pots, some seed in pots, cabbage seed, and start over again in July and find a place for them. And they work. It works. You overwinter them, and I had to cover them really heavy at times to keep them from freezing, because it was a pretty cold winter at times. But it worked. I had cabbage. I think we had one on New Year's Day, and we had a cabbage all through the spring, and I think I just got done eating them like a couple weeks ago. I ate the last one, and it was pretty good. I put it in a pan and saute it with pulley sausage and with sugar and brown sugar. Brown sugar, salt, pepper, very simple. A little bit of put a spice in there, and it turned out pretty good. And I got cabbages coming, they're growing, and I'll eat some more of those within the month or two. And here is sweet corn. What was it? Planted probably about 2 to 3 weeks ago. It's probably between 2 and 3 weeks, and it's doing good. I make them in hills, and I just mulched them today, and they were pretty weedy. A good way to get rid of weeds on your young plants, if you do have some leaf mulch or any kind of mulch, you just put them around and it kills the weeds for the most part. I saved probably an hour or so of weeding. Instead, I just mulched it, covered up the weeds, and it kills them, and it fertilizes it. Keeps the moisture in the ground, and it keeps it does fertilize the plants. And this is mulch that's mixed in, leaf mulch, with some rabbit manure, so it may be really help the plants out, this corn out. And like I said, I plant 4 seeds in a hill to get at least 3 plants, and I pretty much got 4 on all of them, except down here I got 5, because let's see what happened. I think 2 came up, and there was a real weak one that eventually came up, and I planted another seed when I only saw growing, and I saw that. Well, that one, it looked like it was going to die there, and then I put another seed next to it. It was going to die. Now I got 5, and see how they fight it out and make corn. And here's one that's just 3. I think there's 2 hills that just had 3 corn plants come up. So I think of all of them, I think 4 out of 72 seeds grew or didn't grow, and that's well over 90%, and that's what it's for. Seed that's probably 3 and 4 years old, that's excellent emergence. So I'm happy with that. And here is, look at this. Here's the Volunteers squash kind of in a good spot. It kind of lines up with the other rows, and I just left it. The rain tried to wash it out last week, but it re-rooted and it's growing good. Now here's the tomatoes. These were planted in the house in, I think it was first week of January, but I think there's only one that's got a tomato on it, so they're a bit slow. Well, when I planted them, they came up real thick. I think that was a factor in them not growing as good as some of these volunteer plants and putting tomatoes on. But they really look good now. They're gonna blow up in tomatoes in a couple months or less. And they're blooming. They're all blooming good. And I think one row is beefsteak, and the other celebration. This is seed. Got free seed, and I didn't. I just in January you can experiment. They're kind of a white material, so you can plant them easier. And I put half a dozen in each pot, and not expecting much to happen. And some of these, they all, like this one here is, let's see, I think it's got a half a dozen plants growing there, and they're competing with each other, and they're looking good. So they'll probably, most likely, there'll be more tomatoes out of that hill than a single plant, but there you go. And they're looking good. They look kind of like, why are you slow? And I think it's just that they're competing against other plants in the hill as part of it, and they're going to come along. We're going to have plenty of. I'm still using frozen tomatoes from last year, so I can certainly wait to get them used up and start on these fresh ones. And here's the only one that's got a couple tomatoes. I looked at, I think I took photos tomorrow, that May 26th, and my tomato plants, most of the ones that were indoor and grown they had tomatoes on them, and some of them pretty good size. So we're a little behind this year. And here is my, got 2 thumbs up and no more. My iPhone charger, Bailey Smith. I don't know what that means. Why iPhone? Okay. Well, okay. This is my volunteer. This plant came up, and it was in October, and maybe it was November, because it didn't freeze until the end of November, and I felt sorry for it. And I dug it up, brought it in the house, and it's got looked like there's probably 30 small tomatoes on it, and I see some are just about ready to turn ripe. So they're going to be in the chili pot here within a couple weeks, the ones that got ripe. So I wish they were a little bigger, but there's certainly a lot of them. And here's a volunteer tomato with these others. I don't think it's even blooming. It'll come along. It looks okay. And here, this was a cabbage row, except for 2 cabbages didn't make it, and I put in volunteer tomatoes in their spot. And these are definitely, this row here are Jersey Wakefield, because they get a pointed top on them. This is a real good example of a one that's of Jersey Wakefield that they have a pointed end on them, and they're a good cabbage though. And here's 3, well, there's actually 2 more of Jersey Wakefields. But here, these down here, these are volunteer cabbages. I threw my waste, when I threshed out my cabbages seed, I threw the waste in the compost pile or the leaf pile, and 2 of them sprouted, and I brought them down here to fill out this spot, so everything works, you know. And this one here is the latest one I just put in. It was kind of sick. I don't know why. When I planted it, on a hot day, it would get kind of wilty. I'd come out and water it, and then the next day it looked good. It's taken pretty well. And these, I'm very sure these 2 here are Flat Dutch, because they're a lighter color than the Jersey Wakefields. And here next is, oh, I bumped the cabbage leaf and bent it over. Okay. Oh, I see a weed. I hate these. I don't know what they're called. You pull them up and you throw them, and they'll reroot a lot of the time, since they're hard to get rid of. And these are red potatoes, and they're done growing their foliage pretty much, and when there's potatoes down there. If I wanted some potatoes, because I'm out of potatoes, but I'm gonna wait until they get a little more riper. And well, this is gonna be rather soon. So we're supposed to get a rainy spell this week, and after it maybe dries down a little bit next week. Oh, geez, that's the 1st of June, and I might have to start digging potatoes. Last year, I think I started digging there mid-June or later. So potatoes, this has been really good potato weather, wet, cool, cloudy, and let's see how many plants I got here. Is there 8 times, there's 16 red potatoes. They already look good, and the ones here at the top are a little bit larger because during the spring I bring up the soil that's washed down there by the fence, and I place it here and make a berm so I can direct the water down the row. And here is a channel, I think about 6-7 areas, river down them and into the lower garden, and knock the back of the where I have logs in just a little bit, and I had to straighten that out. And here's an example of one that's blocked. So we got rain coming, and I'll open these blocked ones out, and if it rains long enough, I may get it on that new corn, in because I got it mulched, and I got it for water between the rows. And I'm gonna have to take a rake here and rake this grass clippings and get it out of the middle before I direct the water, because if I just let that water, that grass will be all down there by the fence. So I'm gonna have to pull it into the middle of the row and just direct the water in between here. Now next here is my white onions, and they're looking real good. I think every onion came up because they look rather thick in the row. And the last couple years, the white onions I bought at Rural King, their leaves all they just bend down. That's what they are. They just the leaves bend and even split, and it doesn't hurt them. They grow good onions, but they look. Ooh, I see something I have to do. I gotta pop off a bud, not grow, and I don't want that. So I pick that off. Onions are pulled. I usually get these out when they fall over here, and usually it's, what is that? That looks like a top. No, I missed one. It's low. That one's been there for quite a while, and it would about ready to flower. So that onion might not be as big as it should because of I missed. And here's my corn. This is my second planting of corn. Planted, I think it was 12th of March. And well, I don't see much pollen yet. I come out and help them pollinate a little bit. They're just not. What time is it? It's 10:13. 10 o'clock is kind of the. Yeah, I don't see much pollen. So, but sometimes I'd be out there pollinating corn, and when I start, it barely comes out of the flowers. But 5 minutes, it all of a sudden, boom! It just pollen everywhere, and that's so crazy that now I bet here certainly within half an hour, there's going to probably be a lot of pollen, but it's cloudy and cool, so it's taking its time today of pollinating, and this corn really looks good, especially right here in the middle. It's kind of, I don't know why, but this lower end, the corn, looks great. It's a little slower than the middle here. This middle here is the best looking corn in the garden. It's all got, there's trying to make 2 ears. There's two silks, 2 ears on each plant silking out. And last year I had a lot of plants that did that. I had 2 ears, 2 good ears on a lot of plants. So like last year, this is going to be a lot of corn, and I'm going to have a lot on the first picking because I planted 2 groups of corn maybe 10 days apart because we're going to Australia and Indonesia, and I said, oh, I'm going to put this here so I don't have to put corn in when I come back. So I put this corn in, and it's ahead of the first planting down there by a few days, so it's going to all get relatively ripe at the same time. But there's a lot of slower plants in the 2 plantings, so it's going to be spread out a little bit. So it won't get ripe like the same day. It'll be, some of them might be almost 2 weeks apart. And on this back side here, it gets probably a little less sun. And those are a little bit, a lot of them are silken out. And this hill here is the slowest of this group. Their tassels are just emerging, and there's a down there that's only like 18 inches tall that it'll eventually, I think it's going to get enough sun where it'll tassel. And there's actually another one that's even smaller. There's a plant down there that is like a foot high that's really shaded out, and it might not make an ear of corn. But I plant 4 to get 3 ears of corn. And last year I had a hill that had 4 stalks of corn, and I got 7 ears off of it. So I don't expect that every time, but it did it was kind of cool that just one little hill of corn would have 7 ears of corn. And next is my vine plants. Oh, and another stuff. Let's see. And all these little plants here are nightshade volunteers, and I'm probably going to have to cut some of them out to let this watermelon grow better. Watermelon's waiting for that hot weather, hot warm nights, and we haven't been getting that. And we've had a lot of rain, but they're a bit behind. And here's a nightshade growing. I'm getting rid of it, and some pigeon grass and another weed, another nightshade. And they've grown quite a bit this week, so they're coming along. Got a sage plant out, and I hope it lives through the winter this time. My sage plants in the planters, they've been dying every year the last couple years, so I'm putting one in the ground and see how it works. And this one's got a broader leaf sage. I hope it's the right kind of sage that does survive in the winter in East Tennessee. So I'm going to shelter it a little bit. I might put a bucket over it or something during the winter, make sure it lives. And next is my new raised garden beds. And down there's potatoes. I'll look at them in a few minutes. And here is these Marconi, giant Marconi peppers. And they need weeding. These weeds are coming. And these beds are like what they call, I made them by accident. I made a hugelkultur bed. It's a German method of gardening. I did it pretty much by accident. It must have been my German blood showing. And any more chats? Oh, I just did the same with pumpkins. Okay. Good morning. What state? Well, I'm in East Tennessee, around between Knoxville and Chattanooga, Sweetwater, Tennessee. And so, okay, back to these giant Marconis. Nana likes the giant Marconis, so that one plant, why is that one laying down? It's not. There's two plants in that one at the end there, and I see one of the plants is kind of fallen over. I'm going to have to check that out later. And I see maybe some buds on those. Well, I made these garden beds by using waste material from the neighbor's yard, which no one's really been taking care of that yard for, gosh, 10 years, really 10 years. And I take out some of the brush and trees to get more light to the garden. And I cut some big trees down, and I used them as the border around these beds. And I throw rotten logs in the bottom and smaller branches the next layer. And then I mulched a bunch of, with a lawnmower, a bunch of twigs and leaves and dirt and all kinds of materials, and put in like the third layer. And then I try to find more like black dirt and put in another layer. And then on these two here, flower beds here, garden beds, I added like rabbit manure with, it's mixed in with straw on like the fourth layer. And then I used some leaf mulch on the last. So it's got a lot of layers of stuff and massive amount of organic material to grow stuff in. So this is the first year. It's an experiment, and so far I'm very well pleased. These peppers seem to be growing faster than normal, so and they look a real pretty green. So and they do get probably enough sun because got a tree straight up there that's midday. It blocks the sun, but I think we're going to get enough light to produce. Next here is I think butternut squash, and I got two here that bloomed I didn't know about, and I like to fertilize the early ones. And that may or may not be fertilized. So in about 2 or 3 days, I'll know. I was kind of surprised they were blooming already, which is a good thing. And they're going to be blooming like crazy within the next week, and we'll be getting some squash. I still got some of last year's squash, and I think I'm going to finally have time to make. I made some pumpkin pies out of squash earlier in the year, and it was real good. So I got some remaining squash I'm going to use up and make pies. So I can. My mouth is watering. Is thinking about pumpkin pie. So, and here is cantaloupes. They're looking good, and they take their time. They like hot weather too, but they're looking good. This part of the garden gets. It used to get really no sun. Now it gets plenty of sun. So I put the cantaloupes here. They require a lot of sun. So I try in this spot to see if it's adequate for sun. And so far they're looking really good. And here's a grass mulch pile that I mowed that yard over there, and I think I got 15 baggers full, 15 bags of mulch, grass mulch, and I'll probably need it on something. And here are some climbing beans, and they're like the third generation of beans I've grown here, and they're blooming real good. They're climbing real good. This one will climb around, and then it'll find its way back to the fence and climb around the fence. And I know there's a few beans on it. Ooh, I see a lot of small. Oh boy, look at that. That's great. Last year, this is where the seed came from last year. Over there's still some vines on the fence, and that's where they grew last year. And what was it? I think it was, there was 2 plants initially came up. I think one died. But out of one plant, I saved a few pods, and I planted the seed this year. And some of them look like they're real good climbers. And this one here is putting beans on okay, but it's just starting to go up the fence. So it's kind of like they're hybrids. When I initially planted them like 3 years ago, there was some of them liked to climb and some of them didn't. So that's kind of the variation I got of this bean. But last year, the bean plant grew and grew and grew and never even had a bud. And after it covered the fence, it finally budded and put on beans. So this year it's different, where I'm getting a good number of beans and a lot of blooming and looking just. There's going to be these few beans. I think there's 11 plants are going to put out a massive amount of beans going forward, because these vines are going to go up and down the fence and probably block out my. There goes the train. And no one's watching. 40 minutes. Norfolk Southern, making noise. Okay, what else doing? Due to the last year's beans. But these are they're just looking so good, healthy, and climbing. They probably grow like 3 or 4 inches a day, some of these vines. And I'm gonna have plenty of beans. Next, I got a cabbage that bolted instead of putting on a cabbage. I got mad at it, but I let it grow and it bloomed and it's putting seed and it's getting blocked out by this pumpkin hill here now. And I think this is the cabbage that I cut, and it's trying to bloom, but it's getting blocked out. It probably won't put on any seed. That's all right. And the pumpkin hill, and I think all these are very typical jack-o'-lantern type pumpkins, because I threw in some giant pumpkin seed, and I don't think those grew. We'll see. I mean, there might be one, but I think the giant pumpkins or leaves are a lot larger. They just have a different look to them. And these all look like typical jack-o'-lantern pumpkins. And I got one. Hopefully I fertilize that and it's starting to get, I think it's good. We'll find out next week. Hey, Bean. I'm doing a video. Okay. There's our dog. Okay. Dog got his business done. I'm gonna look around here for, I don't know how many plants I got. I think I got, I think I got 5 or 6 plants, and they're probably, and yeah, gotcha. Make sure when you pull up pigeon grass, you get this root, because they'll come back. And what was I gonna say? And here's another tomato, volunteer tomato I left where it grew, and it's blooming, and it's gonna have to fight to survive the vines of this pumpkin's taking a big area out, and I'm gonna let it crawl in that, get these 2 vines. I'm gonna try to train them up and put in this leaf. I cut a lot of brush yesterday, and most of it was like first year growth, so it's gonna rot real fast. At least I hope it does. And I'll have some the ants are already working on it. The ants are finding something they like in there. Well, make it rot. I wonder if they're taking pieces. Well, they're doing their number on it. So I spent over 5 hours clipping stuff to clean up this yard. And a lot of stuff I didn't bring over. I cut a lot of poison ivy off of some of these trees. And hopefully I don't get any poison ivy. I'll know in a day or two that I got poison ivy. I never fail to get poison ivy from working in this yard every year. And I think I found out why a little bit, because I thought poison ivy was a ground plant, but there's a lot of it growing up these trees along the creek, and got to watch it. And I clipped a lot of that. And then I clipped a lot of briar brush and weeds down there along the creek over that way. And I didn't bring the weeds and stuff, they're on a uh, real slopey ground, and I just cut them and let them lay. But I brought a lot of stuff over here to rot and use as mulch. Maybe this probably next year's mulch. And here I got some very good looking potatoes in these raised garden beds like these others I were talking about, and these are looking really good. These potatoes, you can see where is the right down in there. They're really pushing up the ground. That means there's potatoes under there, and hopefully there's a lot. And the robins like to come over here and paint the potatoes. So they're going to get some more fertilizer from the robins. I think it's very likely robins. So done with the vines, except one thing. Got these, these are acorn squash. I planted them. They got planted too thick, but I think there's one that's got a squash on it. There's one that's going to bloom. Yeah, they're gonna have to fight it out. That one's gonna bloom. I just let them be, let them do their thing. Last year happened, the same thing happened, and I didn't planted a dozen. I think I planted well over a dozen. They all came up. So I'm gonna have to limit my seed planting on those. But I think this year's going to be, hopefully it doesn't get really hot like it did last year, and it just literally just scorched the acorn squash plants, and I got a few to live through the rest of the summer, but they didn't do so hot. And here's that volunteer tomato that I was out here hoeing around this hill, and I knew there was a tomato there, but I hoed it out, and I put it back in the ground, and it's growing now. So, I'm gonna look at this lettuce. There's some volunteer lettuce. Oh, you're about. There ain't much. Yeah, I've been forgetting to clip that, but it's probably not. When I get lettuce next time, I may do a clip what's left for, make my salad. And that was volunteer, and it came up next to the pumpkin, and it got shaded out, and I forgot it was there, and I could have clipped some leaves for salad, and I just didn't do it. And it's kind of, and that's a male. Okay, I don't see any pumpkins to fertilize. So, and here is, I got around all these lower beds here. I got them bordered with logs, and this week there was a lot of weeds and grass growing amongst them. So I rolled these logs in a little bit and took the lawnmower and chopped all the weeds and stuff. And I used that as mulch in the garden. So kind of two birds with one stone, clean it up and then have mulch for, I think I put them around the peppers over here. And next is the lettuce, and it's kind of winding down. It looks pretty good here though. I think I cut it about 3 days ago. Yeah, it needs about 3 or 4 more days to cut it, and it may go a little bit longer than I think, but the upper end gets a little more sun, and it's starting to go to seed, or trying to. Let's see if I find any buds. See, this is getting where it gets a little more, it gets starts to get a little bitter, more bitter as it matures. So I'm going to let this go after I quit cutting lettuce and get more seed. And I'm going to get a lot of seed unless something like a groundhog, like last year, the groundhog wiped out the lettuce almost, and a few stalks remained, and I got seed, and this right here is the seed from those few stalks of lettuce that I harvested the seed from, and here we go. And I got only planted half the seed that I had, and it was plenty thick enough, so I've already had about 6 cuttings for salads, so that was a very good success. And here is carrots. They're just your typical Danver half long or whatever. And I want to see more of a carrot on these guys. Well, I'm willing to wait. There's got to be. They're looking great. At least the tops are. It's been cool and wet, cloudy spring, which should be carrot weather. And let's look at this big one, big top. I just can't get my finger down there to. Are you growing deeper than I? Okay, there's not the biggest carrot, but there's a carrot growing. I want about 15 pounds of carrots. The way they look, they should have a lot of. One way or another, I'll get carrots. Next are sweet onions, and they're falling. Last week there was like 1 or 2 of these falling over. Now there's about a third of them have fallen over, and they're ready to pick. And that's a decent size. And this mid area none of them fallen over. It's kind of just how it, and there's a spot at the top here that all of them fell over. So it's random. And this row here, the first, about to right here, these are Texas sweet onions, and I don't see any of them falling over yet. So maybe they're going to be bigger than the Georgia sweet onions that are next door. So we'll see. But this time last year, I think I took that video on the 26th of May. Pretty much all the sweet onions were falling over. So I planted them this year at the same time, maybe a day early than last year, and they're still up good. So chances are the onions are going to be bigger. I hope I get 3 times the onions as last year, weight-wise. So next 2 weeks, probably within a couple weeks, they're going to be pulled. So I'm looking forward to that. And here now is more potatoes, and either they're Yukons or Kennebecs, but Yukon Golds or Kennebec potatoes. And I think I'm leaning on this bunch, Yukon Gold. So in the house, they want Yukon Golds, so maybe they're going to get some, I hope. More cabbages. And down here, they got 4. These look like Jersey Wakefields. And when I planted them, these plants were just stringy and sorry looking, and they pulled through, and there except a couple that didn't pull through. And here's another volunteer tomato that does have a tomato on it, while the regular tomatoes don't. And up here, I can see this one here is starting to fold in. These are flat Dutch. This is the biggest flat Dutch this year's. And there's the other, what is that there? I think that's another, no, that's a Jersey. So a couple flat Dutches. And this one here is one that had no reason to survive. I planted them indoors. I think I planted them on New Year's Eve indoors in the planters, and they came up, but there was a lot of bugs eating on them, and I don't think I even sprayed them. I said, well, if you make it, you make it. And this one here really barely had a tiny leaf left, and it sat in the garden here and barely did anything, and it's finally growing. And it's a flat Dutch, and it'll probably put on a big head after barely making is a rose like crazy. And I need to get these staked up. I'm going to put a couple posts, one on each end, and run like old modem wire. I got a bunch of it from DirecTV. It's just loads of it. And I'm going to wrap cord back and forth and just train them up as they go. And where is that one I saw? Okay, here's this one. It's got a husk, but there's a fruit inside. That's like a marble size right now. And they'll get egg sized, or a little bit bigger than egg sized when they get big. And okay, these are from seed I didn't buy. They just showed up. The birds probably were eating tomatillos somewhere else, and I got 2 plants growing in the garden last year, and I think there was some that were fell off and they rotted, or they weren't usable, and I just let them out. I put them out to dry, and I kept the seed, and here we go. And this is not all the seed I got. I kept some seed back, so I got more seed, and I got these, and I'll probably get a little bit of seed off of this. And they came up real thick, but they're going to put out loads of tomatillos, so I'm excited. I put those in chili, but this year they're going to be, if it kind of pans out like I think it is, it's just going to be, I'm going to have to freeze them or something. And okay, here's my for the most part, very sick sunflower row. And well, that looks okay. For some reason, a lot of these, I don't see that mildew on them. They have a lighter color. I think it's fairly normal. Leaves at the top, but at least I don't see a bunch of mildew. These here look fairly normal, but last year at this time I had shoulder high sunflowers, but this group here were planted later because I think I had 4 plants that I planted early, and then and this is one of them, and I think it's gonna make it. it's a lot. It's like a month older than these others, but it's really sick looking. But I think that's still got mildew on it. But I think they're going to pull out of it. Now this one here, yeah, this is one of the early ones I planted. I think it is. But it's got a bud on it, so it's going to bloom real short. Okay. And here's one of the other early ones that really looks sick. It's pulling through. I think the mildew's kind of on the wane. And here's what one the best looking of the sunflower row, with probably the least amount of sun. So it's not a sunflower year, but that's okay. I got some seed I got to eat. I salted it and baked it, and I got seed to eat. And I'll probably get some seed this year eventually, but if it doesn't, that's fine. And more volunteer tomatoes. Okay, that's later. I'm gonna look at this. Bell peppers. I had to buy these. I planted seed, bell pepper seed in this row, and they're just starting to put peppers on.